Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge Systems and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy. And about me, I'm Sandeep Bhushan Thumala, and my credentials are I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I take up international relations and internal security and the analysis of the Hindu newspaper, that is the daily newspaper analysis DNA. And I would be taking up the DNA of today's, that is 24th of March 2021. And throughout my session, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases which are very useful for UPSC prelims perspective. And also we will get into the mode of trying to imbibe the keywords and the key phrases even in the mains examinations, so that your answers for the mains examination would be precise and concise, and thereby you would score higher marks in the mains examination. So therefore, this session at AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis will certainly help you to crack both the prelim as well as mains of 2021. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we would be focusing at the quote of the day. And the quote of the day says that success is the sum of small efforts which are repeated day in and day out. So what is very crucial is your efforts, whether it is small or big, but it has to be continuous. Consistency is very important in regards to your efforts which you are aiming for the success. Therefore, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. And now we'll get into the DNA of the newspaper, and this is in regards to the moratorium, the scheme which has been introduced by the government during the lockdown, national lockdown. And here the Supreme Court has directed the lenders to refund the interest on interest or the penal interest on the EMIs which the government has come up during the period of moratorium, that is from the March 1st to August 31st of 2020. And the Supreme Court has directed the banks and the financial institutions to refund the compound interest, interest on interest, or the penal interest collected on EMIs for loans by the banks and the financial institutions. And it also said that the amount accumulated as part of the compound interest or the penal interest or the interest on interest should be given as a credit or adjusted in the next installment of the loan account. Here the Supreme Court has given certainly a relief to the one who have taken the loans, lenders. At the same time, the Supreme Court has spelled relief for both banks and the lenders, because the banks which were earlier declared accounts of the borrowers as a non-performing assets, now this is that it is a great relief for both the banks and the lenders. And the Supreme Court has concluded that the government scheme, that is in regards to the moratorium scheme, moratorium is suspension. So then during the national lockdown, the government of India has come up with the moratorium scheme so that there would be a temporary suspension on the EMIs being paid by the individuals which wherein they have availed the loan. It could be for the personal loan or for the car loan or for the home loan. So then the government scheme which the government has come up with a moratorium, now the court says that it should be restricted, and the waiver of interest on the interest loans was up to only rupees 2 crore, and this was irrational. The Supreme Court says that the kind of government scheme, that is a moratorium scheme which was only up to rupees 2 crore, was irrational. And this scheme which was introduced in October in regards to the moratorium scheme was just limited to MSMEs, education, housing, and then consumer durables, credit cards, auto, personal and consumption categories which were within 2 crore limit. And that point which the limit was just below or up to 2 crore was irrational, the statement made by the Supreme Court. And in turn it has directed that it has to be made sure that the total waiver of interest for the EMIs which were within the moratorium period, that it would hit the banks and the depositors. So it has made it very clear that the Supreme Court has made that the banks and the financial institution to refund the compound interest, interest on interest or penal interest to the individuals. But at the same time, the Supreme Court has refused that they were insistent or various pleas made by the borrowers that there should be a total waiver of interest for the EMIs, and this plea made by the borrowers that there should be a total waiver of interest for EMIs has been refused by the Supreme Court. Please do understand here. The Supreme Court has said that to refund the compound interest, interest on interest and the penal interest collected on EMIs from March 1st to August 31st of 2020. But at the same time, the Supreme Court has refused the plea made by the borrowers of the total waiver of interest. So the Supreme Court is also not in favor of the plea made by the borrowers to waive the total interest for EMIs, because it says that if such is the case, then the banks or the lenders would be hit very badly and it would impact the banking system. So therefore, there was a balanced approach or the Supreme Court judgment was very clear on protecting the interest of the borrowers, at the same time making sure that the banks and the depositors would not be badly hit, and thereby it would impact the Indian banking system. And there is another news in regards to the foreigners, that is foreigners tribunal or foreigners who can now apply after the rules are notified. Here the keyword is that once the rules made by the central government, once the rules are notified, then the foreigners who are not part of the CAA can now be applied for the Indian citizenship, and this was made by the Union Ministry of Home Affairs in the Lok Sabha, saying that the foreigners who were covered under the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, now those foreigners may or can submit an application for the grant of Indian citizenship only after the appropriate rules are notified by the central government. So here what is very crucial is the appropriate rules by the central governments. They have to be notified. Only then the foreigners covered under the CAA 2019 can submit an application for the grant of Indian citizenship. And in regards to the CAA, it was notified on December 12, 2019, and the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 has come into force on January 10, 2020. And this is the crucial information for prelims perspective, that which among the following statement is incorrect. There could be a possibility that one of the statement can be the CAA, that is Citizenship Amendment Act, was notified on December 12, 2019, and the Citizenship Amendment Act has come into force from January 10, 2020. And the Committee on Subordinate Legislation. So this is a committee which is in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, which has been granted time to frame the rules, that is appropriate rules, so that then the foreigners, those rules, appropriate rules, can be notified by the central government. And once these appropriate rules, which are framed by the Committee on Subordinate Legislation, that means who would form or who would frame the appropriate rules is the Committee on Subordinate Legislation in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, have been granted time. That is, the Committee on Subordinate Legislation in Lok Sabha is granted time up to April 9, 2021, and the Committee on Subordinated Legislation in Rajya Sabha has been granted time up to July 9, 2021. And this time is being granted to both the committees on Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha to frame the appropriate rules, and then it would be notified by the central government, and wherein again later on the foreigners can apply, or they would be granted that they can apply for the Indian citizenship under the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. So this is very crucial for prelims, as well as the conceptual understanding of the CAA and the foreigners applying for the Indian citizenship under CAA 2019, and also about a better understanding about the foreigners tribunal and the CAA. Now, if we come to the point of CAA, it provides citizenship on basis of religion to 6 undocumented non-Muslim communities from 3 countries, that is now, as of now, Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh, who have entered into India on or before December 31st, 2014. So these foreigners who are 6 undocumented non-Muslim communities from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh who have entered into India on or before December 31st, 2014 can go ahead with applying, or they can submit an application for the grant of Indian citizenship once, only once, when the rules are framed by the Committee on Subordinate Legislation both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and once those rules are framed, those appropriate rules are to be notified by the central government, and then these 6 undocumented non-Muslim communities from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh can apply for the citizenship, Indian citizenship, through the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. And in regards to the foreigners tribunal, the minister has said that the foreigners tribunals were functioning only in Assam as of now. That is, at present, the foreigners tribunal, this is the key word, the foreigners tribunal is now functioning only in Assam at present. And as per the minister, the number of cases pending in the foreigners tribunals in regards to those individuals who are now still treated as foreigners, but in spite of providing various documentation, they are not recognized as the Indian citizenship, as on 31st December 2020 are 1,40,050 cases which are pending in the foreigners tribunals, which is present only as of now in Assam. And the number of appeals made to the foreigners tribunals by those excluded from the final NRC list is nil as on date, because as of now there is no rules which are being framed. That is why the number of appeals made by the foreigners tribunals by those excluded from the final list is nil, and the final NRC in Assam has not been notified. Here we were talking about this citizenship, Indian citizenship under CAA, and there is also point the mention made by the minister, that is in regards to the final NRC, that is National Register of Indian Citizens in Assam, has not been issued, and a certified copy of the rejection order has not been issued to the persons who have been excluded, and then still they have been termed as foreigners and not recognized as the Indian citizenship. So this is a crucial information for both prelims, because we have covered in regards to the CAA 2019 and then appropriate rules notified on December 12, 2019 and has come into force on January 10, 2020, that is Citizenship Amendment Act, and the committee, which is a committee on which would grant or which would frame the rules in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, it is the Committee on Subordinate Legislations, and it has provided citizenship based on the religious to 6 undocumented non-Muslim communities from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh who have entered into India on or before 31st, 2014. So this is very crucial information for prelims as well as mains perspective. And there is another news which talks about India abstains in United Nations Human Rights Council, and this abstaining, I mean India being abstained in the UNHRC vote is based on the Sri Lanka. That is, in regards to the Sri Lanka, that the kind of resolution which was proposed against Sri Lanka in the United Nations Human Rights Council, which is a 47 member council, and India has abstained from voting on Sri Lanka's rights record. So abstaining of India from voting was based on Sri Lanka's rights record, human rights record at Geneva, that is at the United Nations Human Rights Council. And this resolution was adopted in the United Nations Human Rights Council once out of the 47 member council, 22 states have voted in favor that there should be a resolution or there should be a voting put forth in the United Nations Human Rights Council against Sri Lanka's human rights record. And the resolution which was passed by the 22 states in the 47 member council was in regards to the promoting reconciliation, accountability and human rights in Sri Lanka. Please do understand these 3 points which the resolution has been passed or adopted by 22 states of the 47 member council of the UNHRC in Geneva was in regards to promoting reconciliation and accountability and human rights in Sri Lanka. And this Sri Lankan resolution was first voted on using the e-voting procedures which was established for the United Nations Human Rights Council's 46th session and which has been held virtually because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation. And in regards to the entire voting process against the Sri Lanka's human rights record, the Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardene has said in Colombo that the resolution was without the consent and acceptance of the country concerned, that is without the consent and acceptance of Sri Lanka, and therefore the resolution against the Sri Lankan's human rights record cannot be implemented. So this is a statement made by the Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardene against the resolution which was initiated or adopted in the United Nations Human Rights Council. And the statement which was made, that is in regards to the Foreign Minister, makes it very clear that Sri Lanka's resistance to the process, that is in regards to the resolution process which has been initiated by the United Nations Human Rights Council to prosecute the war criminals, and the resolution is to prosecute the war criminals through the international evidence gathering and through the investigation methods or mechanism. So here what the point or the keywords which you need to focus, that how the United Nations Human Rights Council has initiated or gone ahead with envisaging the resolution to prosecute the war criminals in Sri Lanka and to bring to the light the Sri Lankan's human rights record is through an international evidence gathering and through the investigation mechanism. And once the election or the resolution process has taken place, we have seen that many countries have voted for and voted against, and the countries which have abstained from voting also. So India is part of the countries which have abstained from voting. That means they did not participate in the voting resolution which was initiated by the United Nations Human Rights Council against Sri Lanka's human rights record. And Gunawardene, the Foreign Minister of Sri Lanka, has thanked 14 countries including India, Japan and Nepal who have abstained from voting. That means 14 countries have abstained, and we have seen 11 countries who have voted against the resolution and 22 countries who have voted in adopting the resolution or who have supported the United Nations Human Rights Council. So this is the 47 member United Nations Human Rights Council. So out of 47, 14 have abstained 22 have supported the United Nations Human Rights Council resolution and 11 have voted against the voting. And Mr. Gunawardana has also extended a warm thank and solid support for 11 countries including China, Pakistan, Russia and Bangladesh who have voted against resolution and in support of Sri Lankan government. So this is a conceptual understanding about the a voting resolution or resolution which was passed in the United Nations Human Rights Council to vote for the kind of the Sri Lankans human rights record and to prosecute the war criminals through an international evidence gathering and through an investigation mechanism by the United Nations Human Rights Council. So this you can consider this information or the news in regards to the international relations and from the body that is human rights or under the United Nation or UNO, United Nation organization. This is part of the United Nation organization, that is United Nations Human Rights Council, or in regards to the issues in regards to the human rights also can be focused this analysis. And there is another news which talks about district wise export promotion. So this is a keyword from economy perspective, that the center is now readying or getting into the mode of readying the draft plan for district wise export promotion. One district, one export. So this is a concept which has been brought by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that is India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his independence speech in 2019. And based on this, now the Commerce Ministry is now aiming for the double digit export growth in India across 500 districts over the period of 3 to 5 years right from now. And in turn, while it is aiming for a double digit export growth in 3 to 5 years from 500 districts, the center through the Commerce Ministry is asking the states to prepare an annual export ranking index of districts based on export competitiveness. And this preparing of an annual export ranking index can be taken up with the assistance of the DF or DGFT, that is Directorate General of Foreign Trade. So the one who would be involved in preparing the annual export ranking index of districts is the Directorate General of Foreign Trade, and this would be based on the export competitiveness, and this will provide the double digit export growth in India from 500 districts over a span of 3 to 5 years. And this is the conceptual understanding about how the district wise export promotion will aim double digit export growth in India over a period of 3 to 5 years. And in turn, again, Commerce Secretary has said that the government is now readying a draft, that is the draft of district wise export promotion plan. So what is the plan which the government is now bent upon for aiming the double digit export growth is the district wise export promotion plan for 451 districts in the country, after identifying the various products and services with the export potential in 725 districts. After identifying the products and services in 725 districts, it is now running a draft of district wise export promotional plan for 451 districts in the country. So the plan is now ready for 451 districts after identifying 725 districts in regards to the products and services with export potential. And this initiative has been pushed for each district by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, so that each district will be an export hub. Please do understand, here the concept is that each district in India would be an export hub, and this was the mention by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the Independence Day address in the year 2019. And this district specific approach, so that it would aim that every district in India or each district in India would be an export hub. And this district specific approach involves identifying potential export sectors and the logistics bottlenecks to be fixed. And once these logistics bottlenecks which are existing will be fixed, and once they identify the potential export sectors, so certainly each district in India would be an export hub, which is the aim of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, which has been made in the Independence Day address in the year 2019. And in regards to the foreign trade, which constitutes 45% of India's GDP, and in regards to this foreign trade, the export promotion, most of the export promotion, the efforts are made by the centers. So thereby now the Commerce Ministry is pushing, or it is asking the states to prepare an annual export ranking index with the assistance of the Director General of Foreign Trade, so that each district would be an export hub. And in regards to this plan, district wise promotional export promotion plan, in the initial phase there would be products and services in each district would be identified, and once they are identified there would be an institutional mechanism at the state and district, so that the state and district export promotion committees will be created. And once these state and district export promotion committees are created, and this will be created with an action plan, so that the appropriate action plan is to grow exports from each district, so that each district would be an export hub. Please do understand here, the products and services would be identified in each district, and each state and district export promotion committees will be created with an action plan, so that each district would grow as an export hub. And these products and services which have been identified, or which will be identified, will be, or they have been identified in 725 districts. And the products and services which have been identified are part of agriculture, toy cluster and GI products, which are part of the products and services which have been identified in each districts. That is almost identified in 725 districts across the country. And the district export promotion committee has been notified in all the districts of the state, but except West Bengal. That means only in West Bengal the district export promotion committees have been not yet notified. And there is a draft district export action plans which have been prepared by the Regional Directorate General of Foreign Trade. As we discussed that there would be an annual export ranking index which would be prepared by the state with the assistance of the Directorate General of Foreign Trade. And when we come, or when we look into the intricacies of the draft district export action plans, this would be prepared by the Regional Directorate General of Foreign Trade in 451 districts, so that each district would act as a export hub. And main intention is to make sure that the foreign trade, which is now constituting only 45% of the India's GDP, has to increase further, because now there has to be in coordination by the center and the state to make sure that the district, or else the export promotion would be not only from the center but also by the states through the district wise export promotional plan. And this is the key phrase, district wise export promotion plan is the key phrase which you need to focus, which is very crucial for the UPSC prelims perspective. And I wish this was an informative, knowledgeable session and very, very useful for mains as well as prelims perspective. So I would say a very big thank you to all. Good luck to you all, and do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule, and then take care of your physical health and mental health. And please do not forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe the AKS IAS English Medium YouTube channel, and also have access to the website and telegram link of AKS IAS Academy, that is Advanced Knowledge System. And then see you again tomorrow with the DNA, that is Daily News Analysis. Till then, thank you, goodbye, and then take care.